our business doubled from one year to the next year in revenue, just from making that one change. A whole set of circumstances meant that we actually had to sell the business and close the business down. It's actually an asset that we're building that can be sold at some point.
Well, hello there and welcome to the latest episode of the About Small Business podcast, the podcast that gives you the stories of the heroes from across the northeast of England, the kind of people who are making your community a better place. In this episode, I'm pleased to be talking to Laurie Stirling of Laurie Stirling Consulting.
Yes.
Laurie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you are my first Australian guest, I believe, so thank you very much.
Come a long way.
You certainly have, but currently you reside in a little bit closer, I believe, aren't you?
Yes, Whitley Bay.
Whitley Bay.
Where I call
Brilliant.
home.
Fantastic. I mean, I've just mentioned to you off camera, I have visited Australia, absolutely loved the place. I've since learned that prices over there have gone through the roof.
Yeah, we've got some interest rates dropping and things like that at the moment. So,
Right.
yeah, it's a bit of economic crisis.
Are you still have you got family over there? So
Yeah.
you're still very much is it still part of your life?
We get group text messages with, the price of shopping this week. Yes.
Much the same as the UK. Because I remember when I went over, we went travelling sort of around about years 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
And the interest rate was amazing for the British and stuff was just so cheap. And I remember things like Big Kev selling his products and things like that, and keeping the dollars in Australia.
Yeah.
So I think that my first question has to be, because I do want to, you've got a really interesting take on what you actually do for a living.
Yeah.
But I would like to first ask you, what brought you to the UK?
Like a whole string of events. My husband is a British citizen. His father was born. He's from Australia, but his father was born in England.
Right.
So he's got dual citizenship. We've wanted to move away from our little country town Toowoomba for a fair while, but we had sort of an opportunity come up. My husband works for a Norwegian tech startup, so we thought maybe Europe. But
Yeah.
Brexit had happened. He had the citizenship, so we decided on the UK, somewhere in the UK. We didn't know where in particular.
Yeah.
We knew of a couple of ladies up here in the north, and we thought, well, we'll check it out. Came for a week. Well, actually, we came for 3 months to check it out to see whether we were going to get our business to sort of keep growing with us as we moved over. But whole set of circumstances meant that we actually had to sell the business and close the business down when we moved over. But we came here within the first week, we fell in love with the place and went,
Right.
we're willing to move our entire family across the other side of the world to come here. So
That's a really lovely story for the Northeast, really, that it's managed to attract you. Because, I mean, I know certainly most people that I know, their impression of Australia, it's I suppose the best bits of the UK and with good weather.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many similarities between the two countries, for sure.
Obviously we're pleased to have you over here.
Thank you.
Now, you'd mentioned about transporting your business.
Yes.
And that appears to be, from what I understand from looking at your website, that appears to be what's inspired what you're doing now.
Absolutely.
Now I'm sure you're going to be much better at doing this than I am. Can you just give me like an overview of what it is actually that your business is now?
So currently I work with entrepreneurs who are like the talent of their business and therefore the bottleneck of their business to be able to get their business to run without being dependent on them. So this was a lesson that I learnt the hard way. So I built a web development business back in Australia, ran it for over 14 years, was very profitable, 6 figures in profit. It was a lifestyle business. We, went on overseas trips, we raised our kids, we bought our house, all of that with this business. And then when we came to the realization we wanted to move to the UK, we couldn't. So we did sell the business, but not for very much. We sold the branding of the business and the SEO and the domains and that sort of thing. But other than that, I sort of went on it was a big journey that I went on when we shut that business to move over to the UK because we couldn't find the work and we to be able to depend on that to get our visas. Yeah. So we had to get actual salary job to be able to live over here.
That must have been quite hard after you well, I mean, you've just described your business as a lifestyle business, clearly a very successful one.
Yeah.
To come from that to actually working for someone else, what did that feel like?
To my husband, it was a bit of a relief because there's always that pressure of having to, where's the next, job going to come from?
Yeah.
So I think there was a part of it that's like just to have reliable income sounded great. But that's sort of where like my path and my husband's path differ, because after we sold the business, I went, okay, well, now what? I'm not a web developer myself. So even though I built the business and ran the business, so I had this sort of, moment where I went, well, what am I good at? And I went, I'm really good at helping people budget with unpredictable income. Like I've done it for 14 years, like this knack of being able to budget money and being able to help other people to do it too. So was a business that I launched when we sold the business.
It's fascinating that you pinpointed on that, because that's I don't know. And when you look at skills, it's not something that I suppose a lot of people look at. But the more as you scroll in the content that your algorithm is feeding you, that's something I'm getting more and more about: financial planning and financial goals and things like that. And it's interesting because I think certainly in the UK, for your average person on the street, the one major investment they see is their own home, which isn't really an investment because you live in it.
Yeah.
But I think for so many people, they don't really have any investments, whereas your business, for you, that was an investment.
Absolutely.
I think you've probably got a lot more to say on that topic, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, the way I found it, I was sort of sitting down one day and I was thinking, okay, of all the hobbies I have, what's something that I love to do even if I didn't get paid for it? And then I realised I really need a new hobby because budgeting was what came up for me. So I'm like, okay, I need to find a hobby. I did find one. I'm actually now an artist of on the side. So yeah, like oil paintings and things like that, which took me a while to find that hobby on the side. But yeah, I ended up turning my hobby into a business and that's sort of where that grew from. But I found that I was helping people look at their numbers and their metrics, and I could diagnose the problems that were happening inside their business, but I couldn't fix the problems until we went deeper into operations. And this was sort of like, operations was a whole new world for me, even though I was naturally doing it inside my business.
For the benefit of anyone that doesn't know what you mean by operation, because it can potentially be quite a broad term.
Definitely a broad term. So the aspects of delegating, like digitizing using like technology, it can be the systems and processes that we like, the templates and the checklists that we have, even things like your legals and your contracts and how your sales process, like what's the letter that we send to someone that has the terms and conditions. There's all sorts of that's inside the terms operations, which is why it was sort of a whole new world to me that like I needed to learn more in this area. And so I went like on this mission, and that's when it opened up to me that actually people can run their business, like get their business to run without them. And we'd already sold the business at that point, and I was sort of like, this whole world was open up to me. If knew then what I knew now, it's that I could have kept the business running without me when we moved over here, and that would have been a whole different game changer, I think. But that's sort of, I didn't know that then. So
let's speculate though. Let's speculate. Yeah. How dramatic do you think that change would have been in terms of your lifestyle?
Well, that's funny because I don't regret the path that I took.
Yeah.
So, like, now I feel my mission has changed, that I need to help other people also achieve this. I think if I hadn't, I would have stayed focused on the web development side of things. So, but now I feel it's...
Had you known then what you know now...
Yes.
Would you still be doing what you're doing now?
No. No,
which is interesting, moment, I suppose, because, but it's that process, that knowledge that's put you into where you are at the minute. So, I mean, you're helping other entrepreneurs realise the investments that they're building. Yes. Is that fair?
Exactly. So when people realise that their business is an asset that can be sold, it sort of detaches the, like, when we are the talent of our business, that talent is usually something that we've had from a very young age, or we've cultivated that
Yeah.
talent or that experience that we've had over our career. And so that becomes part of our identity. And so when we monetize that identity inside our business, then that feels like it's an extension of us. And so when we have to sort of change the mindset around, actually your business isn't you and your talents, it's actually an asset that we're building that can be sold at some point, or it can grow beyond you and not be pivotal to you and your special, unique ability.
What struck me, what you said earlier on, is that you started a web development business, but you also sort of slipped in that you're not a web developer.
No.
That's interesting because of what you've just said. The people you're helping are essentially the talent behind the business.
Yes.
And I think logically, a lot of us sort of approach businesses like, as you did when you came back over here, it's like, what am I good at?
Yeah.
What are my hobbies? I was trained as an English teacher. I'm a musician, stroke performer.
Yeah.
And I've become my business.
Yeah.
And so exactly that kind of person. It's just interesting that you're starting in business and creating a business around a skill that, from what you've said, you don't appear to have, which I find just quite, I can see the logic in doing that because you are building a business rather than throwing yourself out there as a freelancer.
Yeah. So like when my career started out bookkeeping in finance, ended up doing a diploma in business administration, that side of things. So
right, so that's how you started.
That was my career started that way. When I met my husband, he introduced himself as a graphic designer. He wasn't a graphic designer. He was in pre-press, but he wanted to sound cool. And when I met him, I was like, I could work with that because I always knew I was going to be an entrepreneur and that I was going to start my own business.
Really?
Yeah. So
has that come from the business administration, the finance?
It
start that you had
from me being very naive, from thinking I know how to fill out a tax form. I'm good. I know how business works, which I didn't at all. But I learnt sort of the hard way. Sort of by when we started our business, there was no Facebook at that time, so we were literally like, I was walking the streets, knocking on doors, asking people if they wanted business cards for their business. And my first client was actually my beautician. She wanted some menus done, and so sort of just it started as a side thing, and then we managed to build that up, and we took a big leap into going full time.
I think it's interesting how you say you're starting with that business, because I think fundamentally with Facebook. And I've looked at this with my own marketing thing. I look at that and I think, how social media, in many ways, is it stopping us from that direct sales approach?
Yeah, I think it's just opened up that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of ways to market yourself.
Yes.
And to be open to there's more than one way, to do it.
Well, my first job was telesales,
yeah.
and it's just the numbers game. It's the number of phone calls that you make, which is ultimately going to determine how much success you have. And then started to learn that, you do, if you become more targeted. Mm-hmm. And there was a guy I used to work with, he wasn't good at the cold calling.
Yeah.
When we were having like sort of sales days and things like that, where it's like, everyone's, the most number of sales was going to be the winner. He didn't do well on that kind of thing, but what he'd worked out, he was slightly older than the rest of us, he was looking at relationship building, and he was looking at the finance side of things, like how much, rather than the rest of us who might have been making X number of pounds per sale, getting a number of sales that were still coming up with a fairly small amount. He was there, he's looking at the bigger numbers and developing a relationship with someone to actually think, right, I'm prepared to spend this amount of money with you, which was dwarfing all these smaller sales that we were doing.
And that's looking at like ways to do what was already working more efficiently and more effectively.
And that's right. And, like you putting the time in on social media, that is kind of a part of that.
Yeah.
So you've started doing that hard way with a knocking on doors for what's essentially design business.
Yeah.
Working with a gentleman who's Perhaps, I dare I say, missold himself to you.
I saw his potential.
He saw his potential. I'm sure he'd be pleased to hear that. And so how did things develop from there then? Because I presume this is still in Australia.
Yes, that was in Australia. So that when we first started the business, it started out as a graphic design business, then pivoted into web design, then into web development. And so I feel like I'm still the queen of pivoting. Like I'm always like having to see what the market wants,
Yes.
what the messaging, what people are asking for. And so part of that was, well, people are asking for websites. So we pivoted into that.
Am I able to ask you, when you started your graphic design business, was the web a thing? Were people getting websites? And was that something you've maybe been just designing for a few years, and then the web came along, hang on, people want websites, this fits our skill set?
Yeah, websites did exist when I started my business, but it was still like most businesses were looking through the yellow pages, trying to work out what they need, and then there's like this whole shift into, no, that doesn't exist anymore. Everyone was getting...
But you have given a clue as to your age by that mention of the yellow pages. 'Cause I'm sure lots of viewers, that used to be a huge directory. It was literally a set of yellow pages. I think made famous in the UK because strongmen used to try and rip it in half. It's a big, thick book like that. And the strongmen used to rip it in half. And we used to search for businesses in it.
Yeah,
and that obviously also existed in Australia as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And I do remember that because in my visit to Australia, I was working for a recruitment company, and that was what I did. Yellow pages, and then start not door knocking, but sort of ringing numbers, and that's how you got the business, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah, we put in like the smallest ad we could find when we first started inside the yellow pages, but like people that we were working with, like, oh no, you got to get the biggest one, and they were taking up the full page, and I'm like, no.
I was going to say, did that work for you? The smaller advert, did it work?
We got some tire kickers, sort of, ringing around, seeing how much does it cost, but no, it didn't. It was more referrals that sort of got us off the ground, and that's what started.
So I'm presuming then it sounds like you were searching for the business, and your husband is kind of, I don't know, maybe very quickly got the HTML, CSS books out. Maybe, I don't know if he used Dreamweaver or something like that. Or
he grew up learning to code websites while his brothers were outside kicking footballs. So it was in his DNA to at least want to learn.
So it was a nerd, and I mean that as a compliment.
Yes.
I'm a quite happy to confess I'm a nerd as well. Behind these panels, some of the mess that you can't see, there are comics in there.
Oh, closet nerd.
So that's it. Yeah, just for the purpose of this podcast, no, I'm really cool, but total nerd, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Sometimes I tell my friends, I'm a closet nerd, and they're like, Laurie, you're not a closet nerd.
There's no closet.
We know. There's no hiding it at all.
Brilliant. So he's coding, and then obviously able to adapt those skills to...
and like we've always had to keep adapting. There's new programs, new languages, new frameworks, things like that have always had to keep growing and happening and adapting. And
it's surprising how quickly that hit you with, because I mean I've never been a coder or a developer or anything like that, or even a designer. However, when I started working for myself in 2009, in fact prior to working for myself, I made my own website, and I used a copy of Dreamweaver, and I was putting in tables and things like that. And you start to realise, people are starting telling me off for not using CSS. It's like, well, why would I use CSS when I have no idea what CSS actually is? You're laughing because you know what it is. This cascading style sheets, which mean that you can be a bit more flexible in your design. And then certain programs, and then certain browsers, certain web browsers aren't compatible with some of these new technologies that you're working with. Definitely. And this is just from the perspective of someone that is sat using a software program that has been designed to make this process easy.
Well, these days, like, I'm not a coder, but I've now built my own apps because AI has sort of opened that opportunity up now. So I'm definitely still in the tech industry, whether I like it or not. But
is that a service you're offering out to other people, or is it just something that you've done for yourself?
I've done it for myself inside my business because there was a tool that I wanted to make, and I've tried to ask my husband, okay, I want it to do this and do that, and I just couldn't explain to him the intricacies of what I wanted this app to do. And so when AI came out, like with vibe coding, I'm like, all right, I'm going to give it a go. See if I can do it. And I spent like maybe 6 or 7 hours on this app, but I had it built from like a minimum viable product built in one day. And now I use that for my clients when I'm coaching and consulting.
What did you use to build the app then? Was it a ChatGPT coding thing, or was it a specific?
The one I used was Bolt.new, but I would say these days you can use Gemini, has the same sort of platform if you use their
Gemini is often overlooked, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've actually got a friend on Facebook who he actually codes AI.
Yeah.
He's had like sort of a chatbot since before AI really was a thing. So he's quite sort of cutting edge, and I've seen, you know, sort of different sort of platforms have come out, like he's had a songwriting business where he'll compose you a song.
Nice.
And I mean I presume he's just using like sort of I've forgotten the name of the site, but you know, so one of these apps that will do that for you. And he started recently sort of converting photos to video, and I think he's actually using the inbuilt Google one for that. Yeah. And it's really quite staggering.
It is, and I love that it is part of the Google platform, because now I can say I can put in there, okay, I'd like to launch a new course. Can you fill out, like, come up with all the tasks that I need to do to launch this new course, and then I can say, all right, now find time in my calendar to do all of those tasks.
And so it's integrated, everything.
That's right. And
so are you a Google person rather than a Microsoft?
Yes.
You are. Yes. It's interesting because, I mean, obviously, I'm an Apple guy.
Yes.
But Apple seems to be quite lagging on all of this.
Yes.
And it's interesting, like, you know, they've got the phone. I think they're kind of allying themselves with the ChatGPT, which is going to be integrating itself into the Apple Intelligence, which has upset Elon Musk and all sorts of things going.
Yes.
It's you know, we're just it's hard to know where we take cover when it all kicks off. But
yes, that's so true.
But no, so is there any reason that you've chosen Google? Or
just because of the integration and the shareability to be able to share it with my clients? That's the main reason. Yeah.
It's I suppose with Google as well, you've got that sort of the free entry point makes it more accessible.
Huge, yeah.
And then you can obviously pay to upgrade as you go.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, I mean, working with schools, I decided to go the Microsoft direction.
Course, yeah.
When I started, I thought, right, I'm Apple, I want to do things that teachers can't do for themselves. So if I'm using tech that they won't necessarily be using, I'm offering something that they can't do in-house. Yeah. And then you quickly realise that your life would have been a lot easier if you just use what they were doing and don't, you know, forget Keynote. Yeah, it's a little bit better than PowerPoint, but you know, if you do PowerPoint, you've got like compatibility. Whereas I suppose for yourself, the Google, it enables you to work with others that bit more flexibly.
And I'm huge on go with whatever software will get the job done. So like if I'm talking about like task management software, go with the one that you're already using if you're using it. If you're not using anything, then we start, you know, wind it back, start with the basics. Yeah. But I'm not into like, oh, you're using Asana. All right, let me introduce a way more complicated one in maybe ClickUp or something where we can use a lot more features and make it more complicated and bigger and wonderful. But if that's too complicated, then it's not going to get used. And so we just need to stick with what does work, and we can improve it as we go.
Absolutely. So in terms of you starting the business, the consultancy business that you're doing now, why did you, I'm fascinated as to why you didn't come over here and set up a web development company over here.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you clearly still have that expertise, and that was very obviously an option for you. I mean, you brought your main designer and coder with you.
Yes.
So why did you not do that? What year was it when you arrived here?
2019. So
2019.
Just before COVID kicked off. We got here just in time for a lockdown. So
you got here, but you can't leave.
Yeah, pretty much. I think I was already sort of in Australia. I was dabbling with the idea of doing consulting work, and so when I came over here, I wanted to go full into it. It was like, I feel like that chapter had a nice close to it, and I needed to explore
fresh start and a new challenge. So we've already mentioned that what you're doing for an entrepreneur is you are helping them realise that they've got something bigger,
Yeah.
something that they can grow,
Yes.
and something that can become an investment that carries on
Yes.
after them.
Exactly.
And it's interesting. I was chatting to an interview I did recently with Howell Media, and I was chatting to their CEO, Chris Howell,
Yes.
and he was essentially saying that Howell Media needed to pay him a salary, and so that's essentially his pension scheme. And he's built a successful business. I think anyone that knows media in the Northeast will have heard of Howell Media. And you know, he appears to have done that quite successfully, and that's essentially, that is an investment.
Yeah.
When a lot of us think of investments, we think about shares, which is, I suppose, tiny little chunks of what your proposition is, really, isn't it?
Definitely.
But essentially what you're trying to do is getting people to back themselves.
Yes.
Which is something that Chris Howell did always also say to me. He said, you know, he's always backed himself. And that is, it does kind of make an interesting cross-reference. You're encouraging people to do that. In terms of investments, are you a big investor yourself? Do you have other, like sort of a portfolio? Do you have property, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Have you?
The only property I have is my own home. I have a pension, and that's mainly what I'm building up at the moment. So, no, outside of business, it's mainly the idea of when we build a business and we run it for 10, 20 years, for most entrepreneurs, I think there's a figure, something like 80% of entrepreneurs who, like, they're ready to sell the business for retirement or something like that. 80% fail to sell their business. And so most people just have to close the doors on their business, and they've spent 10, 20 years building up that, like, making an impact in people's lives.
Yeah.
And then we just have to shut that down. Like that was working. Like, can't you continue impacting people's lives without you being the critical linchpin?
It's quite a heartbreaking statistic when you put it like that, isn't it? It's like sort of all that. I mean, the reason I started this podcast was I wanted to talk to people about that passion, that energy that made people want to take a slightly different path and want to do their own thing. And it is a bit scary. People don't get it.
No.
People have, you know, no clue why I'm doing this podcast. And it's like, you know, so are you advertising? And they're desperate to find, well, how much money are you making? You know, where's the money coming from? What you, and not everyone does get it, and that's okay. If you're enjoying this content, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to let you know exactly when another podcast's going to drop. But it is just fascinating, I think, just looking at that whole business. And I suppose what you're doing as well, you're also living what you're promoting.
Yes.
You're growing your business to make that an investment.
That's right.
So that 80% figure, that is quite scary. And I think I have heard of similar figures banded myself. And you put that on top of the failure rates, then it's a wonder we've got any businesses at all, isn't it?
I know. And like so many of like the huge businesses out there are all downsizing because of AIs. But I think the impact that small businesses can make using AI to sort of make a greater impact with fewer people means that we should be embracing more businesses. And I get it's not for everybody, and it can be, it's not an easy path to run your own business, absolutely. But the more support that we can have for each other, lift each other up, and like share knowledge, and I think that is so important.
So, I mean, is AI playing quite a big part in the advice that you're giving people?
Yeah, definitely. If you're not embracing innovation and technology, your competitors are, and so you're going to get left behind. But it doesn't have to replace you. That's not at all how I embrace AI. It's more to like take what I know and be able to duplicate for so more people, like one to many sort of model, that it's not just me doing all the work. That I can have
just automating certain tasks and freeing up the time.
Yes.
And I think that's something you mentioned on your website, something that's been important to you. And what you said earlier on about the lifestyle business. And I suppose that's the kind of thing I want to focus on with this podcast. It's about people who want to live a life And the work, you know, because I think we get very obsessed with the term hard work. It's like it's very important to work hard. And I don't think there's a clear definition of hard work.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's like, if it's hard work, has it got to make me miserable? Because I'm convinced a lot of people believe that.
Yeah.
We want you to be working hard because we want to see you equally as miserable. And for me, the hours that I put into the various projects that I'm doing, I'm putting a lot of hours in. I'm concentrating for those hours, but I'm loving it.
Yeah.
When I do a performance, whether that's with my band, whether that's with the punctuation show, it's, you know, that's among the best highs that I get out of my life, you know. And it's difficult trying to put that to someone whose high is just to go down the pub on a Friday night after a hard week. And now, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I've been in that position, and I'm not knocking that if that's what people want to do. But it is just interesting, that sort of lifestyle. So when you started off then, back with your web design business, it wasn't just, money wasn't the focus.
Oh, it was. Like, we needed to be able to live off that money.
You need to live off the money,
Yeah.
but that wasn't the end. It was a lifestyle that was more important than the money. Is that fair?
We knew working for ourselves was going to give us the flexibility that we wanted if we wanted to travel, because that was absolutely part of what we wanted. And building a business around us. So it started off at home, but when I had the kids, then we decided that we needed an office as well. As I still worked from home, but yes, most of the design and that sort of thing happened in its own office, and then that's where we could start to expand the team and that sort of thing. So
how far into your business did you have children?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
So you built a solid foundation.
Yeah.
And then
absolutely
you're able to do that. That's and I suppose, is that what you mean by you need the money to afford you those choices?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And like, there was a journey that we went on. Like, when we first started the business, it was time for money. Like, if it took us, 6 hours to design a logo, we would charge 6 hours. And then there was sort of like this pivotal moment where we realized it was about the value that the clients took from it, not how much time we were putting in.
Yes.
And that when we changed from hourly rate to value rate, our business doubled from 1 year to the next year in revenue, just from making that one change.
How did you implement that change then? What does that look like, sort of changing from hourly to value?
Yeah. Well, the way we quoted sort of was slightly different. We could put almost like a menu like on our website to sort of say, well, these are the standard prices for some things, without worrying about that time. And sometimes we might go over and sometimes we go under, but it was sort of understanding how to come up with the scope in the first place and how to quote with the scope and make
it's just that's the first time I've heard that put like that. Hourly rate to a value rate. And it's, I suppose it's better for all concerned, because if you're making a purchase and you understand the value, you then see it, and we're coming back to it again, you see it as an investment.
That's right. And I think when you're telling somebody, okay, I'm going to quote you 10 hours to do this, the person you're quoting is like, oh, but can you do it in 8 hours? I want you to spend less time doing it because I want it cheaper. Whereas if I'm quoting like a range, or could take me 12 hours, they're sort of like, I want to charge 12 hours. They wanting for it to only take 8 hours. And so there's already like this conflict that's happening between us and our clients. So when we were on the same page to say, well, what's the value to this to you? How often are you going to use it? We have logos on the back of buses and things like that. Like, it was, their logos were everywhere, and it took us 8 hours to create it. So being able to change that mindset around, it was our mindset mainly that changed to say, no, they are getting more value out of this than just the 8 hours that we're putting into it. So being the language that we used was different, I think.
And I suppose in a way it's altering your sales pitch as well, because you're making someone see the investment that they're making in themselves. And I suppose in a way you then become a facilitator rather than a salesperson, don't you?
That's right.
and I suppose like sort of the, the help
Yeah.
and solutions that you're then offering become a little bit more palatable regarding any kind of fee.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's I think that's the thing. It's people do to at the minute there seems to be a little bit more of a shift using and changing language to use value, but perhaps maybe not as much as we might like.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. In terms of we've I think we've maybe sort of perhaps talked a little bit more about your old business.
Yes.
If we can maybe sort of just take a little bit more of a look at your new business and what you're doing now.
Yeah.
We found out like how you came to decide about that,
yes.
and the sort of hobbies that's made you realise you need more.
Yes, that's right.
I love that. And so how do you let people know about you and what you do? How do you convince them that you have that value to offer them?
My biggest way to bring in leads is referrals.
Yeah.
So like partnering up with like accountants and financial advisors who usually at that moment when the client's like, I'm at capacity, I'm stuck, my business is holding me back, they're like, I know the right person that you need to speak to. But I also do a lot of talks and podcasts and things like that just to get the message out there, because sometimes someone can't picture the vision of what their business could look like beyond themselves. Once we can get that vision in mind, then it sort of opens up a whole new world for me. So that's what I try to push in my talks, is that there are ways to scale beyond yourself, and it's not like one solution either. There's many different ways that model can happen depending on what industry you're in, and like whether it's your one of the methods is what I like to call the rock star method, is that when you like turn up and be the talent, you're the rock star on the stage. You're not selling the tickets and booking the venues. Other people on your team are taking care of that, but you can, be a rock star to a stage of thousands, or it could be a small room of 30. So like whatever, that's just one way to be able to scale your business. And then there's like franchise models and agency models, and then there's also like one-to-many, using online and technology to be able to reach more than one person at the same time, whether that's courses or group coaching or on stages, or whether that's through technology, building your own apps and things like that to facilitate that. And then there's also the method where you might not want a team, but you can raise your profile so that you become renowned in your industry, or even the best in your industry. And raising your profile raises your demand, which then you can increase your prices. And that's definitely...
Are you met with very much cynicism? And if you are, do you tend to look at someone like that and in a philosophical way, well, I'm not for everybody? Or...
Definitely, yeah. So I went to a tech conference recently, and I was sat across from someone, and I pitched to them like, could your business run without you? And they were business partners, and one of them said, yeah, I reckon it could, and the other one went, no. But their reasons were just like, I'm just so good at my job, I'm the best, I've got the passion, like, which is all valid reasons, but it doesn't mean that their business couldn't run without them. It's just for them to overcome sort of maybe a bit of ego that's attached to that, and say like, you weren't born with that knowledge, you learnt that knowledge too, and we can distill that knowledge and pass that to the next generation.
That is a really interesting thing that you just dropped there. Okay. And I think because I think as entrepreneurs, I think inevitably there's quite a significant chunk of ego there, isn't there?
Definitely.
And don't get me wrong, that's not a criticism. It needs to be there.
Yeah, like I said, it's part of our identity when it comes to building
absolutely. But it's just interesting the way that you've put that, and it's like, well, we maybe even need to put ourselves as slightly more important than we actually are. And if you can, and I suppose what you're able to do then, because you're detached, you've not got any emotional attachment there, you can then turn around to those people and say, well, look, yes, what you've done is amazing. You could possibly look at maybe sort of getting this person to do that. We can use AI to help with that, and that. Yeah. And that's kind of what you're...
Yeah.
I feel I'm perhaps doing your service a disservice by it, but I'm just trying to understand and perhaps put it in a way that people might be able to understand. But what comes from that is, as you said, then you've got an investment. Because I mean, like, sort of people talk about with their houses in this country, and as I've been led to believe in Australia, this appreciating asset.
Yes.
Which it's debatable about whether it is or not, but certainly they're appreciating in terms of their monetary value.
Yeah.
And if you can have something, you know, you can, if you've got your house that you're living in that's going up in value, and your business that is growing into something that you can then sell.
Yes.
Whatever you're charging is going to seem relatively insignificant, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And I think some of the exciting work that I do is when business owners realize that at the moment they're doing like 100% of whatever work they're doing.
Yeah.
If they can delegate at least like 80% of that work off their plate, that 20% becomes their new normal.
Yeah.
So that 20% actually becomes their new 100. And so you think, now the work that's on their plate, what if you took another 80% off your plate? And that real core 20%, we don't even know what that is yet, but that's going to level you up and take you to a next level that you don't even realize, because you're still hanging on to the original 80% before you even made that cut. And so like the leaps and bounds that people can make, even like philosophically, when they're stripping all of that like all those hats, really, that when we're entrepreneurs, we have to learn what all those hats are, and it's a skill set, and maybe we wear those hats with pride because it took a lot of work and effort and skill set to learn all of those hats, but to have to take them back off again and leave you like working in your zone of genius can be really powerful.
I've got a question that I think, from having spoken to you, I think I know how you're going to answer this, because there's one or two ways you could probably answer. And I've got in my head, I think she's going to answer this way. I would like to ask you, on your current business, in your view now, what has been your greatest success? I want you to answer that. I'm going to tell you how I expected you to answer.
My greatest success is being able to put myself forward as the expert. And that sounds like scary to be able to do that, because it took me being able to back myself and not waiting for somebody else to say, you actually know what you're talking about in this. And that, because I always thought, once I'm successful and I've built the business, then I'm going to talk on stages, and then I'm going to write a book, and all of that will happen once I've been successful. But then I sort of flipped the story and went, no, I'm so confident in all the experience and what took me to become the expert that I am now. I'm ready to be able to speak on this topic and put myself forward as the expert without waiting for anybody else. And then once I did that, that's when the opportunities started coming in. Yeah. And so that I almost surprised myself, even though in theory I knew, speaking on stages and writing books is, part of what gives you credibility. It sort of happened the other way around for me. And
that's I'm just thinking. I'm saying I'm right. I've got no way of proving that.
You need to write it down on a piece of paper.
I thought, right, you could either answer this in terms of some sort of financial achievement or something like that, or something that you'd help someone else achieve, or you can look at it from the terms of personal development, which is what I thought you would say.
Good. Nice.
But I've just realised I thought I should have just got my phone out and typed that down, and then that would look really impressive. As it is, it looks like I'm just some chance that's making it up.
I'm impressed.
But thank you, I appreciate that. The faith you believe in me. The big question now really is, what does the future look like for Laurie Stirling Consulting?
This isn't out in the open yet, but it probably will be by the time this gets out. I was given a job offer, and I was kind of like, there aren't many businesses that I would, like, there aren't many companies I would give up my business for. Yeah. In retrospective, like, because I'm pretty passionate about it. So when I got this full-time job offer, I counter-offered and said I would be willing to do like 3 days a week if I can keep my business running for
Right.
2 days a week. So I'm downsizing my business at the
Right.
moment to keep that running just on the 2 days a week while I go into this other business. But this business is very aligned with what I do in that it's about like helping to raise your profile and help you scale beyond yourself, which is so aligned with what I do. So whether that's maybe one day I'll merge my business in with that sort of, it's very new opportunities. I'm not starting till September, so it's not out the open just yet. Even if it comes to air, that's fine. But I'll name names on social media when it all comes out to play. But
it's I will be honest, when you just said that, my heart sank a little bit. But I'm so pleased that you said you're keeping your business going.
Yeah, that's right. I think I still have that passion that I need to.
And it's what's also nice is as you're talking about the job offer, you can see as you're saying that, I can see the enthusiasm, the excitement is there.
So what I'm doing in my business, I will be doing inside this business, like from the inside out.
Oh, fantastic!
But in such a way that it still gets to help people be able to grow and expand beyond themselves. So I don't see myself letting both go because I'm so passionate about this message. So I have a book that I'm writing, so the book will come out and I've also have a YouTube channel that I post to every week. So either way, you'll still get to learn from me through my book, through my YouTube channel. But I'll probably have some sort of course or something like that keeps going.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, what is apparent is the passion and enthusiasm that comes from you. It's a pleasure to see, and it has been a real pleasure talking to you. I can only wish you all the best with your job and with your business in the future. Laurie Stirling, thank you so much.